Rising food and rent costs push US inflation higher in December. US consumer prices accelerated in December, driven primarily by sharp increases in food and housing costs, reinforcing expectation that the Federal Reserve will hold interest rates steady at its upcoming policy meeting while keeping the door open to rate cuts later this year. Data released by the Labor Department showed the consumer price index rose 0.3% in December, following a period of distorted inflation readings caused by a recent government shutdown. On an annual basis, inflation stood at 2.7%, unchanged from November and broadly in line with market expectation. At the heart of the latest increase were rents and food prices, which together underscored a growing affordability challenge in the US economy, one that carries significant political implications for Donald Trump as inflation remains a key voter concern ahead of a high-stakes election year. Food prices climbed 0.7% in December, marking their largest monthly increases since October 2022. Prices for fruits, vegetable, dairy products, and meat all rose sharply. Beef prices jumped 1.0%, with steak prices surging more than 3%, while coffee prices increased 1.9%, partly reflecting the impact of import tariff. In contrast, egg prices fell 8.2%, offering limited relief to consumers. Dining out also became more expensive, with food prices at restaurants rising 0.7%, further squeezing household budgets. Housing costs continued to exert upward pressure on inflation. Shelter prices rose 0.4%, accounting for the largest share of the CPI increase. Owners' equivalent rent, a closely watched measure, advanced 0.3%, while hotel and motel prices surged 2.9%, signaling persistent strength in housing-related inflation. Energy prices posted a modest 0.3% increase as higher natural gas prices offset a decline in gasoline costs. Electricity prices edged slightly lower. Excluding volatile food and energy component, core CPI rose a moderate 0.2% in December and 2.6% year-on-year, suggesting that underlying inflation pressure remained contained. Prices for airline fares, healthcare, and apparel increased, while used vehicle prices and household furnishing declined. Economists noted that November's inflation figures were artificially suppressed due to data collection disruptions during the government shutdown, making December rebound partly a technical correction rather than a renewed inflation surge. Financial markets reacted calmly to the report, with US Treasury yields falling and the dollar edging higher. The Federal Reserve is widely expected to keep its benchmark interest rate in 3.50% to 3.75% range at its January meeting. Despite easing in inflation fears, tension between the White House and the central bank have intensified. An ongoing dispute involving Jerome Powell has heightened uncertainty around the timing of future rate cuts, with most economists expecting policy to remain on hold in the near term. Meanwhile, the Trump administration has floated a series of proposals aimed at lowering living costs, including restrictions on the institutional home buying and measures to push down mortgage rates.